Hey, welcome to another edition of Kyle Meredith with. It's the interview series presented by WFPK at WFPK.org, Consequence, and the Consequence Podcast Network. Hey, thanks as always for making your way here, checking out the series. You know what to do. You like what you see, what you hear, hit that subscribe button. But at 3 new interviews every single week, so it's a great way to keep up with your favorite artists and discover some new ones. All the usual spots, including iTunes, Apple Podcasts, at Spotify, Podchaser, NPR, WFPK.org. YouTube right here for the video versions, or anywhere you get your podcast from, you can subscribe to Kyle Meredith with. And that's me. Today, my guest, Madelyn Cline. We're going to be talking about the new Knives Out movie called Glass Onion. It is the sequel. Of course, premiered in theaters. Now it's going to be on Netflix here in December. And Madelyn, you know, she's also famous. She's Outer Banks, speaking of Netflix. She's been doing that, but she's a part of this really huge cast. I mean, the first one had a huge cast, so the second one's got to live up to that one. We're talking Daniel Craig, Edward Norton, Janelle Monáe, Catherine Hahn, Leslie Odom Jr., Jessica Henwick, Kate Hudson, David Batista, and we're going to be talking about how it is to work with a cast like that, and her character's relationship with Batista, and so much more. I'll also point out that we recorded this interview while I was on vacation in New Orleans, so the set changes here in just a few seconds. I don't have any of the usual amenities, the bare bones. Not that you'll care about that, because really you're tuning in to hear from Madelyn, right? So let's jump into this right now. We're talking Glass Onion, Knives Out sequel. It's Kyle Meredith with Madelyn Cline.
Hi, Kyle. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's a pleasure to meet you on here.
It's so nice to meet you.
Let me say the obvious stuff here. Congratulations on being part of this wonderful movie with Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery. I love the first one. This one is even so much better. And I thought maybe we just start at the beginning here. How did you get cast in this one?
Well, it was I got an email from my agents informing me that I had an audition for it. And I stared at the email for a solid minute and a half, maybe. And I was just in shock. I was shitting my pants, for lack of better words, because I was such a fan of the first, and I immediately just got so nervous. It was just a good old email, and then I sent in a self tape, and then I believe I sent in another, and then I had a callback producer session. And then I had a director's meeting with Ryan, and then Ryan gave me the call. But it was all over Zoom. None of it was in person. And because we were still deep in the throes of the pandemic. So yeah, and then I packed my bags and I went to Greece.
That must have been its own thing too. But then you arrive in Greece, and you know, and I don't know, you're part of just an amazing crew of actors, and yourself included. But that must, I mean, was that a different experience than having sort of a cast like this? Like, what was that experience like?
Oh, I mean, it was intimidating, really, really intimidating. And of course, because of, how prolific their careers have been, of course, their reputations preceded them. And so I kind of psyched myself out a little bit. I was so nervous, and I was so, I really was just like, I have to get my shit together. Like I really wanted to, I wanted to be able to hold my own. And I was really, really excited to learn from them, and to kind of, to kind of study, I mean, it did feel like a master class, and I got to watch all these really masterful actors work. And then in turn, I got to get to know them. And I realized very quickly that they are just as wonderful of people as they are actors. And it's so funny because people talk about, especially I think especially as an actor, you think about meeting or even working with your your heroes, especially as a young actor. And so getting to do this, being so young, I feel it was truly like a pinch me kind of thing for 3 months. I would wake up in the morning, I kind of like slap myself around and like, get yourself together. And just like soak it all in.
Yeah, I mean, there's that moment, right, when you've got to, well, when you're these people you look up to, admire on the work, like when they become the humans, because outside of the work, there's the hang in a situation like this. I mean, like at what point do you finally start to get comfortable?
Um, I think the nerves kind of really, I don't know. Actually, no, I take it back. I don't think the nerves ever really went away. Um, I think it was I started to get comfortable. I think I kind of started to get comfortable in the like that adrenaline that came from the nerves, because I recognized pretty early on that it was such a familial, and like loving and supportive environment. And so, it became easier to let the nerves, like channel the nerves into I guess like performance, and less so about like like psyching myself out a little bit. But I realized pretty early on that this crew is really, really special and supportive and warm and welcoming. And I think that's kind of where I started to get more comfortable, and in turn, started to become more free in the play spirit of it all.
Well, let's, what we can. I'd love to hear about your character. Like, how do they pitch whiskey to you? Because the one thing that I really love about your character is and I'll use the term, she's onion skinned. There are these layers that sort of peel away as you go along. It's almost like you're having to do a performance inside a performance.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So how was whiskey pitched to you, and what did you see in her?
I can't actually, I can't even remember if in the breakdown of my first email I even had like a character description, other than very basic, like age range, girlfriend of Duke. But Ryan didn't really pitch whiskey to me. I think when, if I remember correctly, when we had our first conversation, Ryan and I kind of pitched my idea of whiskey to him. I think he was more interested in what we could bring to the table to, I think, complement what he had already written, because what he had already written was so rich. Because he's such a phenomenal writer and so specific. And so I went through the script like 2-3 times before I met with Ryan, after I'd gotten the script, and I had written down a bunch of ideas. And I had done a lot of research into like influencers and YouTubers. And, I did spent a lot of afternoons staring at the ceiling, trying to think about like people, like influencers, people that I'd seen here in LA, people that I'd met. And I just had like this notebook of ideas. And so when Ryan answered the Zoom call, when we had our meeting, I just kind of like word vomited to him like my ideas and who I felt whiskey was. And I, and it was a really a fun conversation, because I immediately felt like how collaborative and how playful he was, as a director, and he was just super down for all of it, to just try everything.
Well, it's really fun seeing you play against, of course, Dave Batista, and he's got his own lane of character that he's and I don't know what you can say to that, but finding the chemistry with him, what went into that, because I love the juxtaposition of who the two of you are you know, as
Yeah, I do think whiskey cares a lot for Duke, but at the same time, I think she cares a lot about her goals, and I think there's some social climbing. There's for sure. I think their relationship with each other is mutually beneficial for what each other wants, and I think that has a lot to do with it, with the way they interact and move around each other. And Dave is so lovely, and he's such a phenomenal person to be able to share the screen with, and have as an actor opposite of me. And he's so thoughtful. He's such a gentle giant, such a wonderful guy. And I think his Duke was absolutely perfect.
Yeah. Now, as we know, you know, it's a sequel in name, and of course we've got our detective, but story wise, you know, they don't share anything between the two. But still, like when you go into, I guess normally when you would go into a sequel, like you would have to really, you know the stuff at the beginning. Were you all coached to do that, or was it sort of like, hey, this is a clean slate?
I think from the very beginning we realized it was a clean slate. I think just based off of the script, it was. It was very clear that it was the same universe but a different novel, and I also think from the very beginning, from my first day on set, I realized, just with this group of actors in particular, we were really leaning into the comedy of it all and the satire, even like in my opinion, even more so, I think, sometimes than in the first. And that was really fun because Ryan would always say bigger, 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 like it's not big enough, more. And and sometimes you go like, what? Are you sure? And he was always, he was always very short. And we quickly learned, well, I think even before I was on set, I knew that Ryan was going to be a director that I could trust. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, again, it's just kind of fun seeing the interaction that go through this, and who people like. I don't know, and again, what we can say and what we can't say, but it's like, Miles. You know, you have the Ed Norton character here too, and we've seen his character so much, in real life. Was that ever part of it? Like these people are to represent like sort of these other people that we've seen?
I think everyone's taken inspiration from people that they have seen or been around or experienced or had experiences with. So, and I think, again, like I think what was really fun about it is just like is how satirical it all was.
Mm-hmm.
And how everybody really leaned into it. But yeah, I would say that I think everybody kind of pulled little bits and pieces. I think some more than others, just depending on, you know, your, I guess, depending on each cast member's acting method. I don't even know what to say there, but how they prefer to approach a role. But for me, I kind of, again, like I took little bite-sized pieces of people that I had seen, and I think a lot of my cast members, just hearing them talk, did the same.
Yeah. You know, bringing up sort of the fun side of it too. It sounds like it's all fun actually, but Glass Onion being a Beatles song and there being that musical slant. I mean, Knives Out and Radiohead to me. And you know, I'll sort of close out with this too, because as you talk about doing the influences musically, do you ever use those parts? Like, you know, I was watching you in the Hot Stuff video, the Donna Summer and all that stuff, which was fun. But, you know,
Yeah.
when we have this musical side of the movie, like what's your musical lane? And does that ever play a part of what you're bringing into your role?
You know, it's so funny. I don't know, like music is in a way, yeah, but for this one, Edward, because I wish I had like more of an actual concrete answer for like myself and whiskey, but I actually don't. I remember that summer in Greece and Serbia, I listened to a lot of the Grateful Dead. I was just on a kick, and ABBA, because I was in Greece. But you know, Edward, when I think of whiskey and I think of this movie and the making of this movie, I think of this playlist that Edward created, and he called it Green Room. And it is a collection of songs that we like to listen to in the green room. And a lot of it's like 70s, 60s, he like no, yeah, I don't want to spoil anything. But yeah, it was kind of, they were all kind of oldies and throwbacks, but absolutely no jazz, because Daniel hates jazz. Don't ever, if you ever get the privilege of being around him, do play jazz. So you can see his reaction to it.
I love the movie. It's so much fun. Congratulations again to all you all accomplished on this one. It's one of my favorite I've seen. And Madelyn, thank you so much for taking the time to talk about it.
Thank you so much.
And thanks to my guest. Also, thanks to you for checking out the episode in the series. Before you get out of here, hit that subscribe button. Again, you get 3 brand new interviews every single week. New one every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at right here on YouTube, or of course anywhere in podcast land, including iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podchaser, NPR, or WFPK.org as well. A great way to keep up with your favorite artists and discover new ones as well. Then after that, actually head over to WFPK.org. That's where I do a show Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern. It's an hour full of song premieres, music news, anniversary spins, bonus interviews, Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern at WFPK.org. Consequence has your music and film news. You can also find me on the social media spots, Facebook, Instagram, mostly on Twitter. All 3 of them, the address is at Kyle Meredith. Do hope you like and follow along. That does it for another edition. I'm Kyle Meredith. I'll see you next time.